No surprise today. Further confirmation of the compromised and corrupt legal system that we are forced to operate under in a tyrannical state. Today, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit affirmed the decision of a leftist judge in New York City, and a jury that found President Trump liable for sexual abuse. Who are the judges that sat on the panel? None other than Denny Chin, who I locked horns with many years ago, him having accused me of being a racist against Chinese because I uncovered the Chinagate scandal in a case that had nothing to do with the Chinagate scandal. I was in New York trying a case for a company named McAfee. It was a commercial case. A despicable human being, someone who saw racism around every corner. And it was because I asked a question if he had been recommended to the bench by a suspected Chinese spy, John Wang, who worked for President Clinton at the Commerce Department. It was a scandal at the time. And Judge Perez and Judge Carney, all of these judges appointed by either Biden or Obama. Tell you something? And you got to read the opinion. It's unbelievable. I'm going to link it with this podcast. It gets into all of the evidence that was presented, to use the term loosely, against President Trump that wasn't really evidence at all. Women came forward out of the woodwork after years, after statute of limitations were amended to allow for this case to go forward. It was part of the Me Too movement at the time, and also as a result of a lot of these women likely being contacted by Democrat operatives to do a number on Trump. And they go through the evidence and they try to prove that all of this was admissible, that Trump had sexually harassed and tried to rape other women because these were crimes under federal law, giving an exception to the rules of evidence as to whether this pattern of conduct, as alleged, could come into evidence. You got to read this thing because it's an effort to smear President Trump further. And this is what I'm telling you. Don't be fooled by those that are going Fox News and tell you, some of them, not all of them, that a new day has dawned, that people are accepting President Trump as president, that it's going to be kumbaya, in effect, and that he's going to be allowed to govern without much interference. Untrue. This is a good example. These judges, these hack federal judges, dishonest, compromised, and corrupt, are just one example of how they're going to try to take Trump apart and therefore take his agenda apart, making America great again apart. And we need to stand by his stead. Now, on another front, a picture of Joe Biden emerges with his son Hunter, with the president of China, President Xi, and others, proving that he lied yet again about the context of him helping his son, when he was vice president, to do business with the Chinese, laundering over $20 million of what was obviously bribes into the coffers of the Biden crime family. Him and his lawyer, Abby Lowell, I call him Abby Normal, I've been up against him in the past, and claim, oh, it's old news, it's old news. Well, it is old news, you're right, because he should have been indicted and convicted for the old news, Biden. We did at Freedom Watch. Go to freedomwatchusa.org. He's been convicted for the bribery, and he was sentenced to 20 years. We're looking for established law enforcement to carry that out. He was also convicted for 20 years with a sentence for negligent homicide in Afghanistan, his actions having led to the death of 13 GIs at Kabul airport and 10 of our Afghan allies, including young children, so he could look tough after those individuals, our grave servicemen, were killed. Now, he also says recently, Biden, that he thinks he could have won. He regrets having gotten out of the race, and then he regrets the appointment of Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, that he didn't prosecute Trump fast enough. This is unbelievable. The guy is the worst president in American history. We just had Jimmy Carter die. At least he did some good things after he was president. But I got to tell you, Biden surpasses even Carter as the worst president in American history. We don't need to get deeply into Carter at this point in time, other than the fact that he undermined the Shah of Iran, gave us the Ayatollahs, gave us this radical regime, and created inflation that was over 20%, which destroyed our economy. But other than that, Carter was a great president. However, he did do good things after he left, notwithstanding the fact that he was a latent anti-Semite. In fact, the people that financed his library at Emory, in large part, were as well. So this is something which you need to take into account. You can't believe anything the media says. You obviously can't believe anything the government says or does. But the moral to this story is that we need to do it on our own. And yes, with regard to China, going back to that, we have a case in Dallas, Texas, where the judge should have entered a default so we can move for a default judgment, a class action over COVID. It's now been confirmed, even by our own government that's been covering it up, to use the term government loosely, that the leak emanated from the lab in Wuhan, China. It was likely a bioweapon. We actually have two experts that will testify to that effect. And should be permitted to proceed against China for this crime, which they committed against the American people in the world. Fauci was behind it. He's been convicted too. He got life sentence in our citizens' grand juries and citizens' trials. He is a true criminal. And Bobby Kennedy wrote a book about it, attesting to the fact that he's a criminal. The man should be locked up and put away for the rest of his miserable life. He's the devil. His actions, sending the seeds, the SARS virus, over to that Wuhan lab to do gain-of-function research, resulted directly in the death of over 20 million people worldwide. This is what we're dealing with, ladies and gentlemen, fellow patriots, people of faith, those who believe in the vision and creation of our founding fathers. It's why you need a Freedom Watch. It's why you need a Larry Klayman. We're unafraid. Go to freedomwatchusa.org. Contribute with tax-deductible contributions. We are your real Justice Department. The so-called government, which rules over us, is corrupt to the core. You can see the judiciary, the federal judiciary, is largely corrupt to the core. Two Obama appointees, one Biden appointee, write an opinion which smears Trump with the salacious details because they didn't like the fact that he was elected president as the 47th president. These people are despicable political hacks. They should be removed. They should be impeached. They should be gone. But unfortunately, our Judiciary Committee, run by Jim Jordan, sits there and does nothing. We need to do something, we the American people. So join us at Freedom Watch, join our Justice League, join us to bring about a return to make America great again, to support President Trump. He will need our help. The left is out there. They want to destroy him. Frankly, they want to kill him. There's no doubt about it. They've already tried, and we need to protect him. And we will do that at Freedom Watch. And we will do that to protect all of the American people and anyone in this world that believes in freedom and liberty. God bless you. God bless America. God save America. Remember, the Father and Son will only help us if we help ourselves. I'll be back tomorrow with another special podcast. Until then, thank you for listening to me.